Don't get me wrong, Shining, I feel for ya, but better you than me. This month, IDW paired up the two pony princes of Equestria, Shining Armor and Blue Blood. I'm actually kinda glad about this pair since Friends Forever has been kinda safe with its pairs lately. While we have gotten some supporting characters in the mix, the last 4 issues have starred at least one member of the main 6, characters that we're already very familiar with. But this month, we're getting 2 supporting characters as our leads. When Cadence can't accompany Shining Armor on a trip to Yakistan to discuss trade, Blue Blood is chosen to take her place. And, understandably, Shining Armor isn't all that enthusiastic. So what's good? One of the best things about this issue is, believe it or not, Blue Blood. Considering what little we know of him, with the best night ever being our only frame of reference, the story could have easily been about him making the trip more difficult for Shining every step of the way, with Shining having to put up with it and eventually learning how to tolerate Blue Blood. And it seems like that's exactly what we're in for at the beginning, but once we get to Yakistan, it turns out that Blue Blood is actually pretty good at diplomacy. Scratch that, he's really good. Don't be mistaken though, Blue Blood is still Blue Blood. He's still pompous and he still makes backhanded comments. The comic doesn't go out of its way to say, oh, Blue Blood is a really sympathetic character that deep down is a really good person. He's still the same stallion we saw at the gala, but his portrayal here shows us that, yes, he isn't the best guy in the world, but he does know how to use his surface level charm to get a job done and get it done well. And you have to at least respect that aspect of him. The comic isn't asking you to feel sympathy for him or even to like him. It only asks to at least give credit where credit is due. And with the way the story plays out, I can oblige that request. At least it explains why Celestia hasn't disowned him by now. As for the art, it's an average Tony Fleecs issue. It's not as good as Fiendship number 2, but it's not as bad as Night of the Living Apples. What's not so good about this comic is gonna depend on what you were looking for when you walked into this story. If you're looking for a story where Shining Armor is the hero that comes out on top, yeah, this ain't it, buddy. Despite his enthusiasm and commitment to succeeding, Shining isn't very good at foreign relations. In fact, he kinda shares his little sister's trait of overcompensating. A lot of fans have been asking for a story where Shining isn't played for a chump, and they might look at his portrayal here and think that this is another one of those stories. But to be honest, I think that Shining Armor's lack of diplomatic abilities is actually in character. While I'm sure he's at least intelligent considering his family, when it comes to his professional career, Shining Armor has spent a considerable amount of time as a royal guard, a job that's way more physical and logistical than it is social. While the show isn't crystal clear, no pun intended, on how long he's been in the guard compared to how long he's co-ruled the Crystal Empire, I think it's pretty safe to say that his tenure as a guard was longer than his time as a prince. And even when you put that aside, it seems that Cadence is the one that usually handles social events anyway. So I feel that, even if Shining had been prince for a good while, diplomacy would still be his weak point. At the end of the day, this story is supposed to be about both him and Blue Blood. And I think the comic gives them both fair involvement in the story, with Shining's realization of Blue Blood's value being one of my favorite scenes. I really enjoyed this issue of Friends Forever, and between this and issue number 40 of the main series, March has been a pretty good month. Next month's issue will pair up Pinkie Pie and Granny Smith. I'll admit that Pinkie does have good chemistry with the Apple family, so let's hope that we get more of a Hearthbreakers vibe and less of an anything else vibe. So what did you think of Friends Forever 26? Swarm that comment section below or bug me on social media. And consider supporting me through Patreon or PayPal art commissions. Until next time, keep it sketchy, folks.